Good day, everyone. Welcome to tonight's special study session where we're going to do a little bit of work with our friend Galen, who has been crushing game after game. And he's going to give us a sneak peek behind his database and give us a little bit about how he uses it to make himself a better poker player. Galen, welcome tonight.
Hey, Peter, thanks for having me.
No
Yeah,
problem.
so I'm just going to give like a brief introduction with some of the tools I use to help me online that aren't available to in a live setting. So um, we have a few more tools that are disposable when we're playing online, and this I think is probably one of the most important ones, a tracking software. So a program like this will log all of the hands that you play online and organizes them in a way that you can interpret the data for later. And it'll help you improve your game. So you can organize it, you can analyze these things to fill in some of the gaps.
Nice. About how many hands do you need to get a good sample size for a database review?
Well, it really just kind of depends on what you're wanting to look at. Generally, you're gonna need a lot of hands to really get meaningful information out of some of the things that you're looking at. Me personally, I use kind of like 100,000 hands or so if you're really wanting to look at post flop scenarios, especially on later streets like the turn and the river. Um, if you're wanting to look at more overarching general stats, you can have less, anywhere between maybe 20,000 to 30,000 for some of the pre-flop characteristics, and I shoot for maybe close to 50 if you want to start analyzing the flop.
Okay, but for a pre-flop game, even a small sample size of 20 or 30,000 hands will give you some idea of what's going on.
Right, so the stats we usually look at pre-flop um, occur way more frequently than the decisions that we're making on the river or the turn, let's say. So you can get a meaningful sample. Let's look at, like, for instance, PFR, or how often you pre-flop raise. You're gonna run into this scenario way more frequently and have a larger data set with fewer hands, as opposed to maybe something down the line here where we're raising or turn probing, for instance, heads up.
Yeah, for sure. That's definitely going to be a thing. Um, what other things would you look for on the pre-flop side here, other than just pre-flop raise?
Right, so the important things that I try to look for when analyzing my game pre-flop are really generic stats. So they're going to be the common decisions, such as VPIP, how often you're voluntary putting money in the pot. This would be three bets, calls, raises, all of the things. There's some information to gather from your generic win rate. Wouldn't get too in the weeds with this right now, but how often you're raising first into the pot, three bet, folding to three bets, things like this.
Okay. Uh, and so this is something that you can do for yourself pretty frequently then, right? To check on your game.
Yeah.
Okay.
Me personally, um, I play a lot of hands. I play close to 100,000 hands a month, and I try to review my database at the end of each month. Someone who's playing a little less frequently, more as a hobby, let's say, you could get away with, quarterly, half a year, maybe even once a year.
Okay, so it's kind of like having a car, right? You can add a little bit of washer fluid, put air in your tires, maybe change the oil yourself, but it's still good to get a checkup from a professional from time to time with some of the more complex stats, right?
Right, Pete. So like the great thing about a program like Poker Tracker is it will collect all of these hands for you, but and organize the stats. But what do these mean? How do you interpret these to improve your game? What kind of baseline and benchmarks are you looking for? Um, that's where a professional comes in, someone who's done this process for a while, looked at winning poker players' databases, knows what some of these numbers should be from their own coaching and studies. Yeah, I've always approached learning things in life by asking someone who knows more about the topic than I do, or following their lead. I think poker's no different.
Excellent. Well, we don't have time for a full walkthrough of the data, but since we've been doing a lot of pre-flop range construction this year, and you have your HUD up, do you want to spend a little bit of time walking us through some of the stuff that you look at week to week or month to month?
Yeah, so generally, we'll look at some quick pre-flop stuff and a tool that we've created in the community to kind of help us with this process. So, right, this is just a report I created for myself and everyone else in the community. And it looks at some generic stats. So we've taken the stats that were from the Poker Tracker 4 and we've organized it here in a nice report. And things I start with, like I mentioned before, would be like your VPIP. And then it has a target range that you can compare to how you're actually performing for that month. And if things aren't meshing up, there's some steps you can take after that to maybe investigate things a little bit further. Pre-flop raise, another really generic stat, happens a lot. So it's another range. 3-bet, how often you're 3-betting pre-flop, how often you're folding to 3-bets pre-flop. Looking at how often you're raising first in and limping from the small blind and your raise first in from each of the other positions. And I like to look at how often we're calling. Just
Okay.
real quick to explain some of these stats. So like you might wonder like how we come up with some of these ranges. So for like
Yeah.
pre-flop raising, just real quickly, I'll to show you some of the process. If you have a set of GTO, game theory optimal balanced charts, you can kind of look at the ranges that these charts are prescribing. They usually make a pretty good benchmark. So we could look at generically a spot like 40 big blinds button versus a cutoff, or I'm sorry, this is versus RFI. So like an RFI from the button. This is probably this is the widest range at the table. You're going to open the most hands from this spot. So when we look at our raise first in, we can kind of compare this frequency. At 40 big blinds, it's somewhere like 50%. We go to a depth of a little bit deeper, goes up to maybe 55, a little shallower, let's go to 20. Now it's pretty close to 40. So somewhere between 40 and 55, just at quick glance. So we can compare that to what we have in our diagnostic report. And the button 45 to 55. So that's kind
That's
of
where that comes from.
that's kind of the process of fine tuning some of these stats. Now, that's not how all of them work, but basically that kind of investigatory process paired with other databases and coaching material is kind of how a lot of these things were generated.
Excellent. And so then when we see that a number is out of whack, that we're not doing something in a specific way. I mean, adjusting our pre-flop strategy is pretty easy, but I'd imagine that's much harder in other parts of the game.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's where a coach will come in, having someone a lot of this information you can find online, but to really efficiently improve your game, getting in touch with someone who has been doing this work for a while and knows what to look for and knows how to respond to, certain frequencies. If a number's too low, they could prescribe X as opposed to if it's too high, they can prescribe Y. It's really the way to approach that.
Nice, nice. Excellent. Do you have some other stuff for us to take a look at today?
This is just a stripped down version of the report. There's a more extended version that we offer as a service in the community that will look at some post flop scenarios for flop, turn, and river. But yeah, this is pretty much it for what we have here. And if you choose to maybe support some of what we're doing, you have the option. Where's it at? Can support us here. The money supported here at our Patreon goes directly back into the tools that we use in our study sessions and to help out in the community. We will do one of these for you.
Oh, I do notice that you have quite a wide variety in terms of the support tiers here. Tell us about that $100 a month support. That one looks pretty outstanding.
Right, so the $100 support tier, it'll come with all the previous community support tiers, so like the Discord perks, but also comes with a one-on-one coaching session where we will walk through one of these database reports with you and set you guys up with something, hopefully plug some leaks.
Excellent. That's you can do that as a monthly contribution or as like a one-time shot as well, right?
Correct, yes, yep.
Excellent. Okay. Well, yeah, I've joined as a member to support, based on what my bankroll can afford, and I've been the beneficiary of some diagnostic work from you guys in the past. So it's definitely worth its weight in gold. It's made my game a lot better. So I appreciate the hard work that you put in on this today, Galen.
Thanks, you too, Pete.
No problem. All right. Well, everyone, you can check out Patreon, Ps4u, and support our community. Get in our Discord and connect with us, and get studying the game. We'll see everyone next week for more study action.